Up first, we've got to check in with dear friend of the show, Daily Wire star Matt Walsh, the ultra-conservative who is always angry and raging about something. Well, this time, he's angry and enraged about me, yours truly. What could there be to not love? I know what you're thinking. I'm just so uncontroversial and so easy to get along with. Okay, probably not. Maybe not. Maybe I am part of the problem is me. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Anyway, this all the argument here all started in the context of the backlash over the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime performance, which people got very mad that it was in Spanish. They got very worked up about some of the things they thought were said in it, which we'll come to. A lot of what they are mad about didn't actually make the on-air broadcast. But yeah, I give my take on it. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I liked parts of it, and I don't think it's worthy of an apoplectic meltdown. I discussed this on the show yesterday if you want to go back and watch and get my take on it. But Matt made an interesting claim on Twitter, or I guess we should call it X. We should use its preferred proper nouns. And I responded to it, and then he responded to me in a way that he was clearly not very happy with me, and he lashed out. But anyway, let's just read the original post. So the End Wokeness account posted several screen grabs from the halftime performances and said, not a lot of diversity at halftime lately. And it's a bunch of Black or people of color artists. I mean, of course, he could have put Eminem or Lady Gaga in there, just didn't, because the suggestion is there's no white people. Anyway, Matt Walsh quote tweeted this and replied and said, Jay-Z took over producing the Super Bowl halftime show in 2019. Since then, white performers have been banned from the show. There hasn't been a single white headliner at the Super Bowl in 7 years, with the lone exception of Eminem, who performed alongside Dr. Dre, Snoop, Kendrick Lamar, and other Black artists. So I found this tweet interesting, and you do have to consider it in the context of a broader narrative that Matt pushes, where he very much suggests that white people are like a widely oppressed class in American life today. And I've been very outspoken against reverse discrimination and DEI and all this kind of extreme nonsense where some parts of life and some systems, like higher education admissions, were discriminatory against white people. But I've always bristled at this idea that white people are like at a grand scale held back and discriminated. It's always struck me as exaggerated and as a victim mentality. In fact, the world is still your oyster as a white person, even in America in 2026. And just because there's some real issues doesn't mean that everything is a victim. We're also victims and everything is against us and woe is me. And that's kind of the vibe I get from a lot of Matt Walsh's commentary about these issues. But I also thought that the way he spoke about this was just like very misleading and very wrong. I mean, he said explicitly, since 2019, quote, white performers have been banned from the show. And that's like obviously incorrect. That's obviously not true. Lady Gaga literally just performed. Now, he then makes a different claim later in the post that there hasn't been a single white headliner at the Super Bowl in 7 years, but then he has to add the caveat that only if you don't count the white headliner Eminem. Now, listen, maybe Jay-Z is not putting white people on stage. I don't know, but I just took issue with the statements that were made that seem obviously untrue to me. I've also seen reporting that Jay-Z tried to get Adele to do the show and that she declined, which would kind of undercut the idea that he is systematically disenfranchising white performers. But anyway, as I am sometimes wont to do, I kind of glibly and snidely replied to this on X, and I said, Lady Gaga literally sang last night, LMAFO, you are so brain rotted, because I do think that Matt Walsh's brain has been fried by culture war stuff. And if you actually go back and look at a lot of his tweets from like 5+ years ago, he actually had much more sensible, nuanced takes on a lot of this stuff. But maybe it's reverse polarization, maybe it's the audience capture, maybe it's the echo chamber that he inhabits on social media. But he's definitely gotten a lot more extreme, a lot more angry, and a lot less nuanced over the years, and a lot more radical, frankly. I've covered some of his very extreme things he wants to do in this country, and I am not on the same page with that. Not my finest tweet, a little glib, a little sassy. I'll certainly acknowledge that, but he responded in a way that really blew the lid off the whole conversation. We're going to go over that, but first, guys, do make sure subscribed if you aren't yet. Do hit the like button if you haven't yet, and please do consider becoming a channel member to support my content. I struggle lately with some lower views, and the algorithm really rewards you if you just pander to the left or the right, but I push back on both. So I do need support from viewers like you. You can call me PBS if you want. And so please do consider becoming a channel member. Hit the join button or the link in the description. You'll unlock early access to full ad-free episodes of the Brad versus Everyone podcast. And more importantly, you'll support your boy. Anyway, back to our topic here of Mr. Matt Walsh, our dear friend. He did not like my sassy tweet, which really was just meant to contradict his claim that white people are banned from the halftime performance. To quote him exactly, since 2019, white performers have been banned from the halftime show, is what he wrote. And obviously that's not true. We literally just had a white performer perform at the halftime show. Also, yeah, I mean, not even to get other things, but I just thought that was an overstatement. And I really wasn't trying to write a dissertation. I was just being a little sassy online, which I probably should not do. Anyway, he responded at length, at quite a bit of length, and said, I am referring to halftime headliners, which you would know if you read the post you're responding to. Hard to accuse someone of being brain rotted when you have zero reading comprehension, and on top of that, you're writing in all lowercase with no punctuation, like every other dim-witted slop poster on this site. Okay, boomer. I'm sorry I didn't use the right punctuation for you in my tweet, Matt Walsh. What a silly thing to object to. It's not, me questioning the factual validity of the hyperbolic claims. It's that you really wanted me to put a period at the end of my tweet. I don't know, man, your age is showing there a little bit. No one cares. It's just Twitter. We don't need to dot our I's and cross our T's perfectly. Anyway, so I replied to this. Well, he actually said another tweet, which I found funny. And I'll read that to you first before I get into my response. He said, quote, not really the most important point here, but I can't stand grown adult men like Brad who adopt the writing style of 19-year-old girls for the sake of posting on this platform. There are one or two accounts that pull it off in a kind of ironic way, but all the rest of them just come off like lame, low IQ posers. On the other hand, in Brad's case, the writing style makes sense because he also has the political views and general insights of a 19-year-old girl. So I found this particularly funny because he's just going after, he's really obsessed with the writing style of this one sentence tweet, which, to be clear, I don't always tweet like that. It's just a one glib sentence reply, and I don't really care to put a period or not. But he's very upset about it. The funny part about that to me was that what he says here, that I have the political and social worldview of a 19-year-old girl, isn't really true. In that and I did reply to this, and I said this, in the particular context of what is my political worldview, right? It is something center-right-ish, libertarian-ish, where I am fiscally very conservative and socially fairly moderate, not woke, but not socially traditionalist or conservative. That is a worldview, right? Someone who is vaguely libertarian in their orientation, that is almost statistically non-existent among young women, 19-year-old girls, right? Most of them would tend to be either, socially progressive and ultra pro-choice, pro-trans, pro all this stuff to a degree that I most certainly am not, and economically leftist, which I'm not, or some of them would be more traditionalist, conservative Christians who are socially more traditional and maybe economically maybe a little more conservative. But even then, I don't have the same worldview. So it's there are actually very, very few 19-year-old girls with my worldview. So it's just funny because it's not really, if you're trying to dunk on me, it just doesn't really make sense as a put down or an insult. Also wouldn't mean I'm wrong, unless you're just arguing that anyone whose beliefs are shared by a certain demographic of person is therefore dumb and wrong. I don't get that. I'm sure you have 19-year-old women who follow you and agree with your views, Matt Walsh. Like, it's a weird put down. But anyway, I replied to his actual substantive point where he said, I was clearly referring to headliners. Well, you sort of were, but you also made two directly different statements in order that kind of contradict each other. First, you categorically stated that white people had been banned from the halftime show. Then you made the statement that it was just that they had been banned from being headliners. But then you also had to exclude the white headliner that we had recently of Eminem in order to make that point. So anyway, here was my reply to Matt Walsh. I said, it's not my fault that you write incoherent and contradictory sentences. You wrote that since 2019, quote, white performers have been banned from the show. That is obviously not true. You also claim that there have been no white headliners by explicitly excluding a white headliner. That means you debunked your own claim that white people are banned from being headliners. You start from a grain of truth that there was obviously an unacceptable surge of anti-white animus and reverse discrimination over the last decade, but then you spin and exaggerate it to the point of absurdity. You desperately want to portray white people as helpless, oppressed victims in 2026, and it's pathetic and detached from reality. You are selling white grievance and victimhood to audiences that want to be told they're victims, the same way that leftist race grifters did for years. You also largely hide from adversarial media and debates because on the rare occasion you step outside your echo chamber, like when you were interviewed on Breaking Points on Haiti, your astounding lack of actual knowledge is quickly revealed. And I guess this is, so you guys can make up your own mind on who you agree with or disagree with about the Bad Bunny thing, about whether white people are banned from the Super Bowl show. That to me is not really even that relevant. But I do think it's an opportunity to respond to Matt and to say to him, why do you so rarely ever engage with people in any sort of adversarial context? The closest I've seen him do is like Piers Morgan, and he'll do that once in a blue moon, but he really does not step outside of the safety of his echo chamber very often. And I do think it's because Matt Walsh is a very effective performer. He's entertaining. He's got a brilliant voice for podcast and radio. He's funny. He's dry. He's a good, frankly, a very good demagogue. Like, he's very good at making these black and white statements and painting things as all or nothing and making complex issues sound as if they're incredibly simple, but he actually does not know very much. And outside of his partially scripted podcast with a production team and I believe millions of dollars spent promoting his brand by the Daily Wire to grow his audience, really does struggle. So I want to show you guys a clip of Matt Walsh where he's made, and the context you need to know for this is that he's made a bunch of quite derogatory statements about Haitians over the years and how, like, it's a shithole country, and if we bring Haitians here, they will turn our country into a shithole because they'll bring their, like, third world behaviors and policies and beliefs. And if you know anything about Haiti, it's more complicated than that. Haiti has been just absolutely devastated by natural disasters, and it's been screwed over repeatedly by other governments, like the French government and the United States government. So it really hasn't had the chance to just pull itself up by its bootstraps. Like, the situation is a lot more complicated than that. I just want to play you this clip that I think perfectly encapsulates Matt Walsh and the particular combination of confidence and arrogance that he has in his statements and his certainty of his beliefs paired with the lack of actual knowledge. So listen to him discussing, this clip is from a couple years ago, him discussing the situation in Haiti with Ryan Grimm over on Breaking Points. Listen to this.
Look at Haiti. What part of Haiti are you saying to yourself, we need more of that?
Beaches.
Well, we have more beaches than them too, right? Don't we?
Right.
We're a much bigger country.
We don't want a marine invasion and occupation of the United States that constantly decapitates governments and takes the money out of the country and saddles us with,
we don't want the Clintons
debt
either.
from a revolution. Yeah.
Right. Although I don't. So you're saying that
we wouldn't want to be like basically a colony that the entire West spends 200 years punishing after the Haitian Revolution.
I get that. I understand that, but also at a certain
we
point,
wouldn't want that. No, yes.
we wouldn't want that. But I would also say that that's not entirely why Haiti's in the position that it's in. I mean, at a certain point, as a country. You have to stand on your own 2 feet and take care of yourself. And
but at what point is that? They elect Aristide, and we overthrow Aristide. Then they elect Jovenel Moïse. Jovenel Moïse is assassinated a bunch of people with American connections, and then we install in 2021, like the United States installed the prime minister that we just ousted. Like, so we could say, okay, yeah, you got to get over the 200 years ago, but like we're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not in favor of. I'm very non-interventionist in my policies, so I'm not in favor of most of the things that we're doing in other countries.
We just made the new government in Haiti in a hotel room in Jamaica, and then we insisted that whatever government we made in Jamaica had to allow Kenyan troops to come in under the flag of the UN in order to go to war with the gangs.
Yeah, I'm not interested in. Right. If it were up to me, I'm not interested in doing anything in Haiti. Like let Haiti be Haiti and take care of that. That's sort of my whole point here.
So what I find funny about this clip is that Matt Walsh had online and at the start of the interview made all these bold statements about Haiti and Haitians. And then Ryan Grimm starts pushing back and referencing the specific, complicated historical and contemporary context of Western intervention in Haiti. And Matt Walsh has just so clearly never heard of any of the people or events that Ryan Grimm is describing. And that's okay. I don't expect everyone to be an expert on the political history and going-ons of Haiti, but maybe if you should be if you're going to make the bold statements that Matt Walsh has made about how Haitians are responsible for the fact that their country is such a shithole and everything, when in fact, I mean, it's hard to find a country that has had a greater series of catastrophes imposed on it by other countries or Mother Nature than Haiti. So, like, if there's one country you're gonna maybe not tell to pull itself up by its bootstraps, I would venture it should probably be Haiti. But anyway, so it's not like, oh, it's such a problem that Matt Walsh is not a scholar in Haiti. It's that he's so willing to make a bold and frankly very abrasive and divisive comments about an entire country or group of people while simultaneously clearly knowing very little about it. And that's like a microcosm of Matt Walsh just in one clip. But what's remarkable to me is that Matt Walsh is not just ignorant on topics that are kind of far afield that he just occasionally like weighs into when it comes to contemporary events, like, oh, Haiti was in the news at that point, so that's why he talked about it. He's actually quite ignorant even about the issues he has dedicated his life to. A great example of this is that a couple of years ago, Matt Walsh did an interview on Joe Rogan, and they talked about kids transitioning, which I've been against for years. I think is really a horrifying thing that was ever done in the name of the LGBT community, and largely Democrats, although not exclusively, rallied around and embraced it. But Matt Walsh, and I've actually appreciated some of his work on it. I thought the What is a Woman documentary was highly effective, but it actually took quite a different tone than his day-to-day commentary, and that may be why. It was a lot more Socratic than it was bomb-throwing and incendiary and just like condemning people the way kind of his traditional commentary does. But so Matt Walsh has literally made this his issue, yet he does not know basic facts about it, or at least didn't at the time a couple of years ago when he was on Joe Rogan, because he suggested that millions of children, of minors, had been put on puberty blockers or cross-hormone therapy. And of course, while I think it's barbaric and horrible, it's in the thousands, the number that happened, not the millions. And so he's not even close to the actual numbers. And this was kind of hilariously exposed in this Joe Rogan clip that went viral because they fact-checked it in real time, and it just revealed that Matt Walsh is a man who pretends to know things, who speaks with a certainty that is not remotely justified by the actual depths of his understanding or knowledge about the issues that he portrays as so black and white. So anyway, without further ado, I'll play you that clip.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking about the drugs, millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers? Really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on that, but my
narrator, They did fact check him on it, and that was not, in fact, correct or even close.
My guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess.
Why are you guessing? This is literally the issue you've devoted your life's work to, in part, and one of your big things, and you're on one of the biggest media platforms in the world, and you don't understand the basic facts about the reality of the extent of these procedures and treatments being given to children. That seems like a massively humiliating revelation to me. I don't know, if you had me on Joe Rogan and asked me about this issue or one of the other issues that I've spent a lot of my career discussing and working on, I'd like to think I would actually be familiar with the facts, or at least wouldn't make egregiously wrong claims that are off by insane orders of magnitude.
Yes. I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019. And when you compare that to how many were done between, 2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase. And over 1,000 girls had gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent?
Right, minors. And that's just up until 2019. And then we know that there's been this exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is way too many. It's a lot.
I mean, I agree with that, but you should know the basic facts and numerical reality about the issues that matter to you as a professional political commentator, especially when you've done entire documentaries and entire written books about the issue and everything. It's like, really? You don't even know how many kids have gotten puberty blockers? Like, you don't need to know the exact number, but you should probably be able to tell us the unit of measurement and not be off by like insane amounts. Is it thousands? Is it tens of thousands? Is it hundreds of thousands? Or is it millions? And he said millions. And the real answer is that it's tens of thousands over the last several decades of kids have been put on the puberty blocker hormone regimen, which I agree is far too many. It's tens of thousands too many. But it's like, God forbid that when you so glibly attack other people as low IQ dimwits or whatever he said about me, you actually know your shit and are familiar with basic facts before going on massive media platforms. Crazy take, I know.
It's a lot more than one.
Yeah. And look, if you're an adult and you want to do that and you understand who you are and what you are and this is how you feel you should progress, you're an adult. This is a free country. You should be able to do whatever you want. But when you're talking about doing that to children, the fact that so many people are on board and so many people are angry, if you have, like, people are going to be angry at us that we're having these conversations.
Yeah, they will be. And I also, I actually think that that this shouldn't be happening to.
It's a very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
This says it's kind of undercounted, but
that would be a big undercounting.
Less than 1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess, hundreds of thousands at this, but I could be wrong.
Million sounds great.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
The Media Matters will have fun with that clip.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh claims it was.
I mean, Media Matters did have fun with that clip, but so did a lot of people who actually largely agree with you on the issue, but just don't appreciate your lack of knowledge and due diligence and preparation and research on the issue that you claim to really care about so passionately and have dedicated so much time and attention to. I love how you shifted the goalpost. So actually, no, maybe it's just hundreds of thousands. So a minute ago, you were saying it's millions. Now you're saying it's hundreds of thousands. I mean, the number that he cited is probably a significant undercount because the stuff is not easy to track. But it's like, it was never millions. And anybody with even a passing familiarity with this issue would have instantly known that. But Matt Walsh, for all his confidence and bravado, doesn't know a lot, doesn't think things through, and is just radiates with disdain for those of us who actually try to discuss things with some degree of nuance. And so I don't really care. If he wants to dunk on me on Twitter, he'll get, hundreds of thousands of likes, and I'm sure my replies will pale in comparison. But morality and truth are not a popularity contest, and I feel all right about the positions I've taken and the stances that I've taken, and thankfully I've never embarrassed myself quite so extraordinarily as Matt Walsh has repeatedly done in media interviews where he's asked basic questions, even by friendly hosts like Joe Rogan. And maybe that explains why he tweets at people, but very rarely engages in any sort of adversarial conversations or interviews. Anyway, guys, that's my little rejoinder to Matt Walsh for today. But you guys will have to let me know what you think, who you agree with in the comments below. I definitely want to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe to the like button and do consider becoming a channel member to support my content. Every person that hits the join button will make Matt Walsh have one additional tier. So please consider doing it now.